Do you love movies of a certain age? Do you miss the days of VHS tapes and VCRs and video rental stores? Is the thought of another 80s movie being remade seem inconceivable? If you want to go back to school, back to the future, or even back to the beach, then the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast is for you. I'm Tim Williams, the creator and host, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest co-host as we revisit a different 80s flick to discuss our first-time watch memories, iconic scenes, and even learn some behind-the-scenes stories along the way. New episodes drop every other Friday on your favorite podcasting platform. So make like a tree, get out of here, and go listen to an episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast.
Welcome to this Moving Panels One Shot. We're going to continue into Mandrake the Magician, the movie serial from 1939. We're in the second half. We are so close to being done. When we last left Mandrake, he was in a plane being shot down. Oh no. I still love the fact that the guy shoots a cable and yet one of the guys on the ground goes, "Ha, he got him." How did you see that cable get shot? That's what I really want to know. I really want to know how that works. But here we go. In Chapter 7, Gamble for Life, we find out, of course, that Mandrake jumped from the plane, and he just so happened to parachute right where the bad guys have caught up to Professor Houston, who escaped from them, and beating him up. You just jump out of a plane, happened up right where you need to be. And then he puts his hat on. That's, there's just so much about this movie serial I don't get. But yeah, he lands without a hat. He sees Houston in need of help, and then he has a hat on. I don't know if it was to cover up the stuntman that was going to do the fighting. And then he and Professor Houston get away from the bad guys, and Lothar just happens to know exactly where they are. Knows exactly where they are. Don't know how that explains either. We jump ahead a little bit further. The professor is going to build another radium gun. I need to point this out too. They keep saying in the opening, Mandrake and his friend Professor Houston making a radium gun to help humanity. How? I still don't know how this radium gun is supposed to help humanity. But Professor Houston needs some stuff from his home, and we see some thugs that have are listening in to Professor Houston's telephone line, and they find out that that's where Mandrake is headed. So they go there, they storm into Professor Houston's home, kind of kidnap the butler, then Mandrake shows up, and they get into a fight, and then they just run off. So what exactly they plan to do, I do not know, because they don't get any of the stuff. It's just to have another fight scene, and again, man, these fights are bad. So bad. Lothar shows up, and then it's a stuntman in a bag wig. But then we go, and we have one of the Wasp's men who, then the professor needs this certain type of metal so he can make the gun like indestructible, is the way they kind of interpret it. And Mandrake just so happens to own land where they can dig up that very metal. He bought it from this telephone company. Random. Then we get a moment where the thugs for the Wasp are told, hey, you need to go take care of this telephone company thing. Why? I have no idea why they're going after this why they're having to attack this telephone company. It makes no sense. Of course, that's the way they end up in the same place as Mandrake. But what's funny is one of Wasp's men just walks up to the foreman at this construction site where they're putting up telephone wires, and he just casually asks them everything. Hey, what y'all doing? When do you get off work? How many people are going to be here? And the guy just tells them everything. It's very interesting. So again, they go and start destroying the telephone poles. For what reason? I have no earthly idea. Mandrake is flagged down by the watchman there at the site. And then again, another little fight scene that Lothar just is very late to. Like, I don't know why Lothar just sat in the car, I guess, for a while. It was very confusing. And then this one ends with a cable car, I guess is the best way to explain it. Little cable car fight between one of the thugs and Mandrake. The thug gets thrown over the side, or I guess more falls over the side. And then we get this little kind of model shot, and we see a little figure fall to its death. It's kind of gruesome. And well, let me explain this. The cable car, the hook holding it is giving way. Now, when they show this hook, I'm like, I would not have trusted that hook with my life, even if, I was by myself, and this is what the intention of this little cable car is for. That hook does not look safe at all. And this, of course, leads to our cliffhanger because the hook gives way and the cable cart falls, and, Mandrake has to be dead. He absolutely has to be dead. Of course, when we see the scenes for the next chapter, we know he's going to be fine. I mean, we still got, we got to go, this is just chapter 7. We got to go to chapter 12. So we know he'll be perfectly fine. So there we have it. There's chapter 7, Gamble for Life. Now let's move on to chapter 8. All right, so chapter 8, Across the Deadline, we find out, guess what? Mandrake was holding on to the wire when the cart fell. Look, there was even a little man hanging on the model effect, and I went, wait, I don't remember seeing that. So I went back to the end of chapter 7. He's not there. He's not there at all. So, take that as you will. He gets down, he chases the thugs away, even though they clearly have the advantage. They've knocked everybody out. There's 4 of them. There's only 3 of the... whatever. This leads to a car chase where we get tires screeching on what appears to be a dirt road. The bad guy set off a bomb at one point to cause a dirt avalanche, but no worries. Lothar just drives right through it and just gets them a little dirty. That's all it is. The bad guys then get away through a gate that a gas station clerk opens up for them. And Mandrake went, looks like they gave us a slip. Oh, well, let's go home. So it's so bizarre. Again, I know that I'm looking at this now in 2022 and not really knowing what life was like in the 1930s. But one thing is these people are very trusting. So Betty and Tommy just let 2 guys into Mandrake's, fortress of a house because they said they worked for the phone company. Betty finds out the phones aren't working. Someone just happens to call at that exact moment and says, "Hey, we're here from the phone company." And Tommy's like, "Okay, come on in," and pushes the button that opens up the gate. But we then get to have a little bit more fun with the magic aspect. This is the thing the show is missing. If you're going to be called Mandrake the Magician, you need to have more of the magic aspect. The comic is just filled with this. Again, this is why he's called the first superhero. There was so much that he could do with magic. But what we get here is another electric thing, remember, with the electric gun from several chapters back. Now we get an electric telephone. The guy's apparently working on a fake phone, and Mandrake electrocutes him. Then Mandrake runs into this little jail cell looking cabinet. A screen comes down in front. They shoot at it. Mandrake comes out from the other room. So just another little gimmick. Again, not really playing off of that he has powers as a magician. So I don't know what's going on there. But the thugs get away. Mandrake closes the gate so that they can't drive off. Of course, they just run out of their car and they jump over the lowest wall I've ever seen for someone who's apparently cares about security. So Mandrake's security just sucks altogether. Things pursue. It's kind of getting redundant, which is the one thing I'm not liking, is that it's just the same old, same old. They're stretching this story out. But the Wasp ends up blowing up a dam. I don't know. They do this thing where one of the guys has to put a marker right in the middle at the top of the dam. I don't know why. He has used the gun before. This is the radium gun again. He's used the gun before to destroy various buildings throughout the serial. Why all of a sudden does he need a marker in order to blow something up? I did not understand that at all. He didn't need them before. Why does he need them now? But then the other thing is he's doing it from his hideout. So is his hideout in like a observatory? Like, how does he have a direct view of pretty much everywhere? It stretches belief. You've heard me say before, I got to have a little logic, even when you're telling a fantasy, fictional type story. There's got to be some logic to it. But he blows up a dam. Of course, this causes a flood, which leads us to our cliffhanger. And Lothar and Mandrake literally fall off a cliff. It is a cliffhanger. They fall off a cliff. Surely they're dead. But of course, that won't be the case. And now we'll end up to our final part for today's episode, Chapter 9. Alright, so Chapter 9, Terror Rides the Rails. Hey, no worries. Mandrake and Lothar, they climbed back up. Apparently they didn't fall far. Even though it looked like he took a huge tumble, they apparently only fell a couple of feet, and they just climbed right back up. The flood apparently hadn't gotten to there anyway, so why they were in a hurry to get up the first time, I don't know. This is so stupid. Anyway, they go back to that gas station where the guys got away through a secret gate earlier. Mandrake finds tire tracks. He then walks back to the gas station attendant, who I'm just watching just spill gas. And I'm like, dude, there's like $30 worth of gas there. And then he just made me very sad by saying, all right, that'll be $2. Oh, so he filled the tank for $2. Oh, it must have been good. Mandrake then does the one magic trick for the episode. He makes the money disappear. Of course, he actually pays the guy, no worries. But he tells the station attendant that he's looking for a wasp and will pay $5,000 for information. He then gives him his card and he leaves. When the attendant then calls Mandrake, why they didn't just, I don't know. They had to have him on the phone because everything about these last few episodes have all been about telephone. He calls Mandrake. The wasp's men are able to listen in and find out that the attendant's going to give Mandrake information. So they blow up the gas station. And then the wasp tells his men about Mandrake's plan, and he's getting onto a train. And at this point, if you haven't figured out already, you're going, okay, the wasp is somebody Mandrake knows, because he always seems to know where Mandrake is. If you haven't figured that, I think I know who it is, but I'm going to keep it to myself. There's a car chase with a shootout, and apparently there are no windows in this car, either car, because they just start shooting. And their aim is horrible because the cars are right on top of each other and nobody is hitting anything. But Mandrake and Lothar board a train. The wasp uses his gun on the train. Now let me point out, he did not need a marker for this, and it is a moving target, yet he hits this train with his gun. Let me also point out that where was this train? Because, again, somehow the wasp is able to see it from his hideout. But the train then goes off of the tracks down a ravine. So once again, they have to be dead, right? Very curious to see how they're going to come out of this one and how they get this one. So we're down to the last three. We'll do one shot on this. Again, folks, this has just been fun. And I hope you're enjoying it. I'm watching these so you don't have to. But we'll continue next one shot in 2 weeks with the conclusion of the last three chapters of the 1939 movie serial Mandrake the Magician. But thanks everybody for listening. Give us that 5-star review on Apple and like and subscribe everywhere. Tell your friends. We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a comment, leave us a review, email us if you just want to talk to us personally, movingpanels@gmail.com. But for today, I'm Laramy Wells, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.